Cary Grant, born Archibald Alexander Leach on January 18, 1904, in Bristol, England, had a childhood that was far from easy, and it shaped the man he would become. Growing up in modest circumstances, Grant faced challenges that most children would find overwhelming. One of the most profound experiences of his early years was the mental illness of his mother, Elsie. When he was just 9 years old, she was committed to a mental institution, a traumatic event that left a deep mark on his young mind. For many years, his father concealed the truth from him, telling him that his mother had simply gone away, creating a confusing and painful sense of loss. This experience affected Grant profoundly, contributing to his emotional depth and understanding of human fragility, qualities that would later enhance his performances on screen. Despite this early hardship, Grant showed resilience and determination from a young age. He found an outlet for his energy and emotions in physical activity, joining Bob Pender's troupe of acrobats. Touring with the group not only gave him an opportunity to develop athletic skill, balance, and timing, but also taught him the discipline and professionalism that would become hallmarks of his career. Life in the acrobat troupe required early mornings, constant practice, and performing under pressure, and this experience helped Grant develop a sense of responsibility and self-reliance. His natural charm and quick reflexes made him a standout performer, and he began to understand how to captivate an audience even before he ever stepped foot on a Hollywood stage. By the time he immigrated to the United States in the early 1920s, Grant had already learned the value of hard work, perseverance, and the importance of putting on a polished, professional persona. These lessons, though learned in humble circumstances, would carry him through the difficult early days in Hollywood, when he struggled to find roles and create a public image that matched the man he wanted to be. The contrast between his challenging childhood and the glamorous world he would later inhabit was striking, and it would give him an appreciation for both success and the fleeting nature of happiness. Grant's early life was marked not only by hardship, but also by a remarkable ability to adapt, survive, and grow, qualities that would define his career and personal life in the decades to come. In many ways, the struggles of his youth gave him a sensitivity to human emotion and a depth of character that would make him more than just a handsome leading man. They would make him a legend. After arriving in the United States, Cary Grant faced the challenge of reinventing himself in a world that was vastly different from the one he had known in Bristol. He began working in theater and gradually found his way into Hollywood, where the opportunities were glamorous but fiercely competitive. Grant signed with Paramount Pictures, and it was here that he began transforming himself into the suave, sophisticated star the world would come to know. He worked tirelessly to refine his accent, improve his posture, and cultivate an image that would make him the ideal leading man for romantic comedies and dramas. Behind the effortless charm that audiences adore was a man who studied his craft meticulously, reading scripts carefully, rehearsing diligently, and striving for creative control long before it became common practice in Hollywood. By the mid-1930s, Cary Grant had emerged as a star, captivating audiences with his blend of wit, elegance, and understated masculinity. He excelled in a wide variety of films, from screwball comedies like Bringing Up Baby and His Girl Friday to romantic dramas, such as A Philadelphia Story, where his timing, intelligence, and charm created performances that felt both natural and precise. Audiences were drawn to his ability to appear both confident and vulnerable, and this versatility allowed him to work with some of the greatest actresses of the era, including Katharine Hepburn, Rosalind Russell, and Irene Dunne. Grant's comedic performances were remarkable for their subtlety. He could make audiences laugh without ever seeming forced or over the top. Beyond comedy, his collaborations with directors like Alfred Hitchcock allowed him to explore more complex characters. In films such as Suspicion, Notorious, To Catch a Thief, and North by Northwest, he portrayed men who appeared calm and composed on the surface, but often hid inner tension or moral complexity. These roles helped redefine the archetype of the leading man, showing that charm and sophistication could coexist with psychological depth. Despite being nominated twice for the Academy Award for Best Actor, Grant never won competitively, a fact that many critics consider one of Hollywood's greatest oversights. Nevertheless, his skill, charisma, and professionalism earned him lasting respect in the industry, culminating in an honorary Oscar in 1970, recognizing his extraordinary contributions to cinema. Even as his fame grew, Grant remained committed to self-improvement, constantly working to refine his craft and maintain his professionalism. This dedication extended beyond his acting to the way he conducted himself publicly, always maintaining elegance, charm, and grace. He understood that his personal image was inseparable from his work, and his careful attention to every detail contributed significantly to his enduring legacy. By the 1940s, Cary Grant had become not only a household name, but also a symbol of the golden age of Hollywood, admired for his talent, professionalism, and timeless style. His rise from a difficult childhood to Hollywood stardom demonstrates the power of resilience, hard work, and a commitment to excellence, setting the stage for a career that would span decades and leave an indelible mark on the history of film that would be wide the mid-1950s. Cary Grant had already achieved incredible fame and secured his place as one of Hollywood's most beloved stars. Yet he felt a desire for something more than just performing in films created by others. Though he had mastered the art of charm, timing, and on-screen sophistication, Grant wanted creative control, a chance to influence not only how he acted, but also the types of stories he told. This desire led him to take a bold and decisive step. He founded his own production company, Grant Art Productions. This move was groundbreaking for its time, as actors in Hollywood rarely had the freedom or influence to shape entire projects according to their vision. With Grant Art, Grant could choose films that matched his artistic taste, select directors and writers he admired, and ensure that the final product reflected a balance of intelligence, humor, and elegance. One of the first projects under this banner was Indiscreet 1958, a romantic comedy that showcased Grant at his best, charming, witty, and effortless, while still carrying the subtle sophistication that audiences loved. The film allowed him to explore the nuances of a mature romantic lead, blending humor with emotional depth in a way that highlighted both his experience and natural talent. Later, in 1964, he starred in Father Goose, another Grant Art production, which revealed a gentler and more reflective side of Grant's on-screen persona. In this film, he played a man who was initially reluctant to engage with others, but gradually revealed warmth, compassion, and humor, traits that mirrored the qualities Grant himself valued in life. These productions were not only commercial ventures designed to entertain audiences. They were carefully chosen projects that reflected Grant's commitment to artistic growth and his refusal to be confined by Hollywood's conventional expectations. By taking control of his career in this way, he demonstrated that true artistry requires not only talent, but also courage, discernment, and a willingness to take risks. Grant's decision to create Grant Art Productions marked a turning point in his life. It showed that he valued quality and substance over quantity, and that he wanted his later films to leave a lasting impact rather than being temporary distractions. While many actors of his generation were content to follow studio orders and ride the waves of fame, Grant sought meaningful work that would challenge him and elevate the stories he was part of. Beyond the films themselves, this period revealed another layer of his personality, a desire to grow, evolve, and create a legacy that extended beyond his own performances. Even as he reached the height of his popularity, Grant remained a student of his craft, constantly reflecting on his roles and the impact they might have on audiences. The move toward creative independence also influenced how he approached acting itself. Grant became more thoughtful in choosing scripts, more careful in his collaborations, and more intentional about the messages his films conveyed. His later films, produced under Grant Art, blended entertainment with subtle commentary on human relationships, love, and morality, reflecting Grant's deep understanding of human nature and his belief in the importance of substance in storytelling. This period of his career also coincided with significant personal developments, particularly in his relationships and his growing role as a father. While he had already established himself as a screen legend, Grant was beginning to prioritize personal fulfillment alongside professional achievement, understanding that life's greatest rewards often came from love, family, and meaningful connections. The Grant Art years, therefore, were more than just a chapter of creative independence. They were a reflection of Grant's philosophy that success is measured not merely by fame or money, but by the quality of one's work, the depth of one's relationships, and the courage to pursue one's own vision. Through this period, Cary Grant proved that he was not only a masterful actor, but also a thoughtful, deliberate, and ambitious individual who understood the importance of shaping both his career and his life with intention. Cary Grant's romantic life was as fascinating and headline-grabbing as his legendary film career, filled with love, heartbreak, and lessons that shaped him both personally and professionally. Over the decades, he married 5 times, each relationship offering insight into the complexity of his heart and the challenges of balancing fame with intimacy. His first marriage was to Barbara Hutton, the Woolworth heiress, in 1942, when Grant was at the height of his stardom. Hutton was one of the wealthiest women in the world, known for her glamorous lifestyle and her prominence in high society. The union instantly attracted public attention, as it combined Hollywood charm with immense fortune, creating one of the most talked-about couples of the era. Despite the glitter and fascination from the outside, their relationship was far from easy. Hutton and Grant faced immense pressure from the media and high society, and though their marriage eventually ended in divorce, it was notable for the mutual respect and friendship that endured afterward. Unlike many Hollywood marriages that ended bitterly, Grant and Hutton maintained a cordial relationship, demonstrating his ability to separate love from conflict and retain dignity even when romance faded. After Hutton, Grant married actress and writer Betsy Drake on December 28, 1949, beginning a quieter and more intellectually connected chapter of his life. Drake shared Grant's interest in psychology, personal growth, and meaningful conversation, and their relationship reflected a shared desire for intellectual compatibility and emotional depth. The couple even worked together professionally, appearing on screen in Every Girl Should Be Married, 1948, and Room for One More, 1952. This marriage allowed Grant to explore a softer, more thoughtful side of himself, one that valued reflection and self-understanding over public spectacle. Nevertheless, this union also ended on August 14, 1962, closing a chapter that, while formative, demonstrated that even intelligent compatibility could not guarantee lifelong success in love. Following this, Grant's next marriage captured the attention of the public for its spontaneity and dramatic age difference. On July 22, 1965, he eloped with actress Diane Cannon, who was more than 3 decades younger than him. Their whirlwind romance fascinated Hollywood, symbolizing Grant's enduring charm and the public's fascination with love that defies age. While the marriage was passionate, it also proved turbulent, ultimately ending in divorce in 1968. Despite its brevity, the relationship with Cannon was transformative, as it coincided with one of the most important periods of Grant's life: fatherhood. Through his marriage to Cannon, Grant became a devoted father, an identity that reshaped his priorities and influenced his later decisions. His final marriage was to Barbara Harris on April 11, 1981, a woman who was 47 years younger than him. By this point, Grant had long stepped away from the Hollywood spotlight and sought stability and companionship, rather than public attention. This marriage reflected a desire for peace in a private life, allowing him to enjoy a quiet and settled chapter after decades of public scrutiny, high-profile relationships, and romantic adventures. Across all his marriages, a consistent theme emerges. Grant was a man in search of connection, love, and understanding. Behind his effortless elegance and screen charm, he longed for authentic relationships that transcended fame and social expectation. Each marriage, whether brief or enduring, brought joy, challenge, and growth, shaping him into the complex and thoughtful man admired by audiences worldwide. While his personal life was sometimes sensationalized in the press, the truth reveals a man who deeply valued love, nurtured meaningful bonds, and navigated the challenges of intimacy with dignity and grace. Through these experiences, Cary Grant learned that love is not always simple or straightforward, and that true connection often requires patience, humility, and self-awareness. His romantic history shows that even the most iconic figures must face the universal human challenges of longing, vulnerability, and devotion, reminding viewers that behind the glamour of Hollywood was a man searching for fulfillment, understanding, and a lasting bond. These marriages, full of drama, joy, and lessons, not only define Grant's personal life, but also illuminate the emotional depth and complexity that made him more than just a legendary movie star. They reveal a human being capable of love, reflection, and growth, even in the midst of fame and public scrutiny. Despite a life filled with fame, fortune, and multiple marriages, Cary Grant's most profound love was a woman he could never fully claim: Sophia Loren. This love, unlike the others in his life, was not about convenience, publicity, or social expectation. It was about connection, admiration, and a recognition of something rare and extraordinary in another human being. Grant first met Loren in the late 1950s while filming The Pride and the Passion in 1957, a period when he was already a seasoned Hollywood star, admired worldwide for his charm, elegance, and talent. Loren, on the other hand, was an emerging international sensation, radiating beauty, intelligence, and confidence, traits that immediately drew Grant's attention. From the moment they met, he realized that his feelings for her were different from any other love he had experienced. Unlike many of the women he had dated or married, Loren did not see him merely as Cary Grant, the famous movie star. She saw him as a man, flawed, human, and real. This authenticity both terrified and thrilled Grant, because it exposed him in ways that few people ever had. He later admitted that he had always presented a polished, controlled version of himself to the world, carefully managing his image and the perception of others. Lauren's presence disrupted that pattern. She demanded nothing but honesty and self-awareness, and her strength and dignity left a lasting impression on Grant. Despite knowing that Loren was emotionally committed to another man, producer Carlo Pani, Grant's feelings did not waver. He understood that her heart was already taken, yet loving her changed him in subtle and enduring ways. The love he felt for Loren was not about possession or desire for control. It was about admiration, inspiration, and the recognition of a bond that transcended the limitations of circumstance. Grant often spoke of this experience as a revelation, one that taught him the difference between companionship and a deeper, almost spiritual connection. He reflected that many relationships in life, even those marked by devotion or physical attraction, rarely reach the level of understanding and emotional clarity he felt with Loren. It was a love that existed quietly, untainted by jealousy or regret, and it remained pure in his memory because it was never forced or corrupted by expectation. Over the years, Grant carried this love silently, a private treasure that he eventually revealed at the age of 82, long after the cameras had stopped rolling. When he spoke of Loren in his later years, there was no bitterness, no longing to rewrite history, only tenderness, respect, and gratitude for having known a person who showed him the possibilities of love beyond possession. In interviews and personal reflections, he described Loren as a woman who embodied authenticity, passion, warmth, and discipline, someone whose presence illuminated his own understanding of human connection. This love, though never consummated in marriage, became the defining emotional experience of Grant's life, shaping his views on relationships, intimacy, and personal growth. In acknowledging Sophia Loren as the love of his life, Grant revealed the man behind the star, the thoughtful, reflective, and deeply emotional individual who has spent decades searching for a love that was true, transformative, and enduring. It was a confession that allowed the world to see beyond the polished elegance of his public persona, revealing a soul capable of profound attachment, insight, and quiet devotion. Grant's story with Loren reminds us that love is not always about possession or timing. Sometimes the most meaningful connections are those that teach us about ourselves, inspire growth, and endure silently in the heart. Even though Loren would never be his wife, the love he felt for her became a cornerstone of his emotional life, influencing the way he approached his remaining relationships and the personal choices he made in his later years. In this way, Cary Grant's connection to Sophia Loren was not a fleeting Hollywood romance. It was a lasting, defining force that shaped the heart of one of the greatest actors the world has ever known. Cary Grant's later years were marked by reflection, quiet dignity, and a focus on the aspects of life that mattered most to him: family, personal growth, and connection with others. Having retired from acting in 1966, he had stepped away from the relentless demands of Hollywood, choosing instead to devote his time to his daughter Jennifer, who remained a central priority in his life. This period was not one of withdrawal or fading into obscurity. Rather, it was a time in which Grant explored new ways to engage with the world while maintaining the privacy and stability he valued. He continued to appear in public on occasion, attending events, speaking engagements, and special celebrations that allowed him to reflect on his extraordinary life and career. Yet he did so with a grace and composure that reflected the wisdom of years, no longer needing to rely on his signature charm or public persona to define him. Even in retirement, Grant remained deeply thoughtful about his own legacy, often considering the ways in which he had shaped cinema and the lasting impact of his performances. He understood that while fame is fleeting, artistry and integrity endure, and he took care to ensure that the work he left behind reflected his values of elegance, humor, and emotional depth. Despite the glamour of his earlier years, Grant's greatest satisfaction came from personal fulfillment rather than accolades or public adoration. He maintained a sense of humility, recognizing the impermanence of life and the importance of cherishing meaningful connections. Tragically, This period of reflection and quiet engagement was cut short on November 29, 1986, when Cary Grant suffered a massive stroke in Davenport, Iowa. He was 82 years old at the time, still remarkably engaged with life, and preparing to give a talk as part of a national speaking tour. The stroke struck suddenly, leaving no time for farewells, and Grant never regained consciousness despite medical efforts. The news of his passing sent shockwaves across the globe, as fans, fellow actors, directors, and critics mourned the loss of a man whose presence had defined generations of cinema. His death underscored the fragility of life, even for someone who had seemed almost immortal in the public imagination, and it marked the end of an era in Hollywood's golden history. Beyond the shock and grief, however, there was also recognition of the remarkable life he had led, both on and off the screen. Cary Grant's legacy extends far beyond the films in which he starred. It encompasses the grace, professionalism, and charm he brought to every endeavor, as well as the emotional intelligence and sensitivity he carried privately. His contributions to film were matched by his personal example, his devotion to his daughter, his ability to navigate complex relationships with dignity, and his courage to acknowledge the love he felt for Sophia Loren, even when it could never be realized. These qualities remind us that greatness is not measured solely by fame or achievement, but by the integrity, thoughtfulness, and humanity one brings to life. Grant's influence on cinema is still felt today, inspiring actors to balance charisma with vulnerability and to bring both elegance and emotional truth to their performances. At the same time, his personal story serves as a poignant reminder of the universal human quest of connection, love, and self-understanding. In reflecting on his life, we see not just the image of a perfectly dressed, impeccably charming movie star, but a man who experienced profound joy and heartbreak, who loved deeply, and who carried the lessons of life with insight and grace. Cary Grant may have left the world physically, but the memory of his films, his elegance, and the story of a heart that dared to love deeply continues to resonate with audiences around the world. His life, in all its complexity, beauty, and emotion, stands as a testament to the enduring power of talent, dedication, and love, the qualities that ensured that, long after his final film, Cary Grant will remain one of Hollywood's most timeless and revered icons. Cary Grant's enduring success was not solely the result of his striking looks or effortless charm. It was equally rooted in his exceptional personality, meticulous professionalism, and dedication to his craft. Colleagues, directors, and co-stars consistently remarked on his discipline, intelligence, and generosity,